Welcome to the Back on Track podcast with me, Sam West. In every episode, I interview someone who's changed, recovered, or become successful after having faced real adversity in their life. What's more, at the end of every episode, guests give you a few bits of advice which you can use to improve your own life too. On today's episode is ex-drug dealer, now turned model, Maiya Kati. Maiya first became involved with selling drugs at the age of just 13, starting out with weed and then progressing on to Class A drugs as he got older. However, throughout all of this time, Maiya was always looking for a legitimate exit and gained a bachelor's degree in business and management and a master's degree in international relations. Sadly, after sending thousands of applications after the master's and receiving no luck, Maiya went back to the streets and was eventually caught with 194 wraps of crack cocaine and heroin and eventually sentenced to 30 months in prison. Since then, Maiya has totally turned his life around, leaving the drug dealing behind, and has even become the face of fashion brand SL Man. So, without further ado, let's find out what happened by listening to his story from start to finish. So, Maiya, first of all, man, I just want to say a massive thanks for taking the time to come on the podcast. How are you doing? How's everything going?
My pleasure, man. Everything's good, man. It's like I said, I like the way you reached out, everything, so on and so forth, and any little ways that I can to sort of bring a little story or a little insight into someone's life that can inspire them. I'm always up for it.
Yeah, man. Well, you got an incredible story. Man, and I'm really happy to be sharing it on the podcast. I know you had a bit of trouble getting here with the traffic.
Loads of traffic. Do you know what it is? It's even local. I know this area very well. Yeah. But it's just that, the traffic, living all the way near Heathrow, is like you can't escape the traffic. And even when I thought I was beating the traffic, it takes one construction road work or something, and that's it.
And you're done.
That's it. You're done. You're because it's really and truly is just as like a one route.
Yeah.
It's like a set route. You have to take this route. So.
Well, you got here in the end, mate. We're here. It's happening. We're live, so it's all good. And Maiya, listen, as you know, I always rewind back to the start of a guest story so that listeners can really grasp it from start to finish. Now, I know that you moved to London from Nigeria at the age of 9, right? And it was basically just you and your mum growing up, right? Because I think your dad sadly passed away when you were young, so it was just you and your mum. Could you tell us which part of London you grew up in and what life was like for you in those early years?
Well, initially, I grew up in, we moved onto the South London, in the Wandsworth Borough, an area called Balham, and that was the area we sort of moved into. At first, when I moved in, I was living with my cousin because my mum was still in study.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we also moved to Streatham Hill. That's in the Lambeth Borough.
Yeah.
And then once my mum finished studying and, she got her job, sorted herself out, we moved back to Balham. But initially, I've spent a majority of my life, the earlier days of my life in the UK in Balham.
And the thing I found interesting, Maiya, as well, was like you tried hard in school, right? You did quite well in school because you said to me before that I think you felt a bit of a responsibility having come from Nigeria, where some of the kids didn't have half the resources you had in the UK. You felt kind of a duty, I guess, to put that effort in. But I guess also, sadly, growing up around people mixed up in a lot of things in those areas of London, I guess in some way you might have become a product of your environment,
That's
guess. Ended up going down the route of selling drugs and all the rest of it. So yeah, could you talk to us a bit about school life and then how old you were when things started to go a bit off track?
Well, Sam, as you can see, I have a very strong cultural Afrocentric background.
Yeah.
So now with that being said, it's just, it's either you're a doctor, a pilot, a lawyer, so on and so forth. I used to want to be a pilot.
Yeah.
And, my dad, God rest his soul, he was a medical doctor. So, and my mum is an ophthalmologist. So I'm in like a medical family. Mm-hmm. But it's more, I just wanted to sort of have my own path. I didn't really think I had the patience to study and that sort of thing. I'm more a practical person. So I didn't really think medicine was the route for me.
Yeah.
Hence why, I went down the business route. But, coming to this country, comparing it from a first world country to a third world country is like education in places like Nigeria and Western Africa or any parts of Africa or any third world country in sense is a luxury.
Yeah.
Now, people in this country, people born and bred in the UK, they don't really see education as a luxury.
That's true.
They see it more like it's almost like a responsibility, or it's like, oh, I have to wake up in the morning and go. Well, back home in the third world, there's some people that they want to get up and go to school, because you could live I'm from Nasarawa State, and there's like a rural side. It's either you get up and go to school, or you go to the farm. Yeah. So you would rather go to school. Yeah. So going to school is actually a luxury. But because my dad was a medical doctor, of course I went to the farm, but that's when I went to the village to visit my grandma, grandparents, so on and so forth. But even with that, that's just what it is. I just saw education more like a luxury rather than something. And another thing as well, in those, in the third world, education, it costs. It costs. And in this country, it's free. Yeah. Come into a class and there's computers, learning how to use the computer. I'm seeing new things. So it's almost like an interest. It sparked an interest, coming from Nigeria, meeting up with other people from different races, learning about new cultures. And so for me, it's just a learning curve. I naturally like learning anyway. So that's one way that I keep my mind stimulated, by learning. Yeah, man. And I can hear the passion when you talk about education there. And obviously you were passionate about it. So even having that passion for learning and seeing school as a privilege, why do you think then you sort of went a bit off the rails in terms of getting involved with drugs and stuff like that? And could you tell us at what age that happened? Okay, now with that, no story is the same story. So I can only ever speak for myself. For me, it's just like the environment. It all started when I started to realize, the value of money. You start to understand the value of money because, from when you're a kid, you're content with many, many things. You're content with just putting on any rags, going out, playing football with my friends, and we're totally okay. Yeah. But, it gets to a certain stage in life where you start to realize, whilst I'm outside playing, I might want a little drink from the shop. I might want X, Y, and Z. And, you will want to sort of have the independence of, wanting to just say, Mom, can I get this? And it was one of those where, to be fair to my mom was a devoted mother. So it's like it's almost like she did everything she could do for me. Yeah. I wouldn't sit here and say, she made me go without. She wouldn't say no. But it got to a point where, from a young age, losing my father from a young age, I sort of had this sense of responsibility. So it's almost like I had this understanding inside me that made me just say, look, anything I want, I'll have to get for myself. Right. Anything I need is the only things I would depend on my mum with. Yeah. So if my mum is making sure that I have clean clothes to go to school and so on and so forth, and I have enough money for school dinners, then any of the extra things that I want, I'll have to do it myself. Yeah. Which has now unlocked necessity to make money. Right. So then that's how it started. Because then, let's be real, I started sort of dabbling in a few bad things from a very early age, for probably like the age of 13. Right. And this is something that my mum would be clueless about. She wouldn't have any clue of it. Like, I always did my homework anyways. Yeah. So it's almost like my homework will be done. So the teachers won't really say, this guy is a bad boy in class, or they would say I talk a lot in class and that, but they can never ever speak on my work. Yeah. So, but with that, I did that just so that it's almost like a smoke and mirrors. Yeah. So like, I know if my homework is good and everything, I can do whatever I want. My mother won't really get an idea or an inkling of anything I'm up to. Yeah. Yeah, it's like a smoke screen, isn't it? Yeah, it's like a smoke screen. Like I said, the Afrocentric background, where it's like, okay, as long as I make sure that school stuff is okay and I look like I'm on some kind of career path, anything I do within that 2 hours of being outside, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's up to me, It's interesting, man, because I think a lot of the time people expect, when they hear a story like this, to hear that, the person was bad in school, they didn't care, all the rest of it. But it wasn't that way for you at all. And as you say, it was more just a question of wanting to provide for yourself, And I think people should think before they judge, hearing these stories, because, like, for example, I grew up in a middle class family, where I had those things provided for me, So obviously I wasn't going to go to the street and start selling drugs because I didn't have a need to do that. Do you know what I mean? So I think some people need to think about people's circumstances before they judge them, if you know what I mean. No, 100, definitely. I agree with that. But it's just, even with that, even honestly, to me, I honestly believe that it doesn't matter where you grew up or what sort of background you have. It's all down to you as a person. Yeah. Because even if someone could have a father, a dad who's a millionaire, but then they could want to be driving Audi R8s or any of these big luxurious cars, which their dad will be like, come on, you're a teenager, you're young, you shouldn't even be thinking about this, so on and so forth. There's a trust fund for you, which will be available when you're 25. But they're not going, they don't want to hear that when they're 15, because they're thinking 10 years, oh my God, that's a world away. But right now I've learned the hard way that 10 years just flies by.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
You know, so even with that, for me, I just feel like it's down to the person themselves. Like with me, like you said, a lot of people expect the stories to be sort of some dark horror stories, like, yeah, we was this, that, I was bad. No, I've never been bullied in school in any institution I've ever been in.
Yeah.
It's just like, not because I was a bully or anything or the toughest guy. It's just that, you know, I had a different I had a different way that I conducted myself.
Yeah. No.
And that's now growing up older now, I've realized is because, you know, for me, I saw education as number one, a luxury coming from Nigeria.
Yeah.
Because I know people back home that would wish they were in my shoes.
To have that
so
opportunity.
I'll be damned if I took it for granted.
Yeah.
Number two, I just have that natural respect. Just from when you're brought up with a strong sense of respect, if you're brought up in like the third world countries or like places like Nigeria or so on and so. So I respected my elders. So I got along with teachers or anyone older than me. Not like I was a teacher's pet, but it's just I respected them as an individual, as someone who's here to come and provide some form of service, like to just give you your knowledge. Yeah. So I wasn't ever rude, unnecessary. Of course, I had times where I would talk back, but that's all the whole essence of growing up. And just with my peers, I just learned to sort of live and let live and just, you know, show love to the people who perhaps they might be more, how would I explain it? They're more timid.
Yeah,
they're more
vulnerable
quiet,
in some way.
Vulnerable in some way. You know, I naturally wouldn't take advantage of them. It's more, I'll bring them round, I'll talk to them, make sure they're all right, make sure everything's good. You know, even the little things like when you're playing football and you just pass them the ball, let them have a little kick about, just so they feel good about themselves. So yeah. I feel like all those things is why I've never really been bullied or
because you
like
were
that.
Nice to other people and other people appreciate that. Yeah, I understand that. And I think, you know, getting involved in selling some drugs and being a bad person, right? They don't have to go hand in hand, in my view. Some people will disagree with that and that's fine. But in my view, that's not the case. And I think that shows in your story. Do you know what I mean? So you got involved in that stuff at 13. And then I think I'm right in saying like when you got to the age of 16, it started to get a bit more serious, like changing substances from weed to other stuff. When you were in it in those early years, 13 to 16, did you think like this is amazing, this is something I always want to do? Or did you see like any warning signs in those early stages that made you think, actually, I don't want to be doing this forever? Like how did you see it when you were young?
Well, initially, let me just take you through a quick timeline.
Yeah.
Well, from when like I said, I realized the value of money and the value of the medium of exchange. You know, I started wanting more money. And then it got to a point where the sort of things I wanted, my mom couldn't afford it, you know, but then I had the older lot or the olders in the area. We just call them the olders in the area, which is just the older boys, which maybe they could be all 16. They could be deep in their teens. And, you know, I'm just early teen, 13. They've got uncles, cousins, who's older, who's got other things, connections to things. And it's just that, like I said, I'm a very respectable person. So a lot of these older youths, they would sort of want to help me out if I just go and I ask, look, I need this. They know I'm not a dodgy character or whatever. So it's like they're willing to do it for me. So it's just from then, I just sort of just said, look, I want to make some money. You know, me and one of my very close friends, I wouldn't disclose anything.
No, of course not.
But it's just me and one of my very close friends, we started off, got a little things here and there, and we just kept it going. And, you know, and this is the thing with money as well. When you get to a certain amount of money, you get to a certain appetite where that almost becomes nothing now. It needs to be more or you won't be settled.
Yeah.
You know, like I made my first grand when I was 13 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Wow. I had to wait until a couple of weeks ago.
No, but even with that, it's just that there are people that have made way more. There are people that have, you know, that probably haven't even made that yet, and they're clear older than that age. But for me, I just feel like you said, I became a product of my environment, but then I just made my environment become my product. Yeah. Because let's be real, I had the beginning in a much harsher environment than to me, this was luxury.
So it wasn't intimidating.
It wasn't intimidating at all.
Right, I see.
At all.
Yeah.
You understand? Like, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
What, someone could try to come and we have a fist, that's not a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not an issue. That's not an issue at all.
Mate, it makes sense coming from a harsher environment.
Of course.
Something like the UK, you felt perfectly comfortable to be doing that. It wasn't intimidating. Whereas if I tried that, for example, I would have been shitting myself.
Let me listen. Coming from Nigeria, the UK has 24-hour light, access to information. A nice toiletry system. This is luxury.
Yeah.
To me personally, I saw it as it was luxury to me.
Yeah, I can understand that, man. And I can understand how things started to develop. You get a bit of money, you're involved with a friend, whatever, and all the rest of it. And but the thing is, mate, going back to the education side of things, because you actually went off to university, right?
Yeah,
you started off going to Leicester, where I think you did a business and management degree. Could you talk to us about, where that motivation came from to want to go to uni, and then also how that was, those 3 years in another city? Yeah, how was that?
Now, to come with that, it's just that for me, like, just going on to the timeline, from 15, I started moving on to, like I said, harder drugs. It started off with me, I was sort of doing it for an older friend of mine, and, he would pay me well. So it's like, with that, I sort of just started putting my money, spending it, making it back, so on and so forth, quite flashy. But one of my regrets, I wish I had sort of had a driver's license on, but we still had access to cars, But with that, the whole uni thing, it all started with my tutor, Mr. Winston.
Mr. Winston, remember his name.
But I honestly have lost contact with him, because I would love to meet that man and take him out and just shake his hand and
say thanks.
Because I feel like just the way he coerced me into going into uni was, he just said, look, you could get a loan, you get a place to stay, there's freshers, loads of girls, because I just told him I'm not interested, because from school, I've been doing my own thing anyway. So it's like, by college, I'm already sort of doing more than my peers.
Yeah.
And that's just the best way I could put it, doing more than my peers. So I was comfortable financially. I was more financially ahead, which put me more mentally ahead than my peers.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
And I wasn't just selling drugs. Me and my friends, we used to DJ as well. So we would hire out venues. That was just one of the legitimate things we did. We've had a road on Carnival.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like, and this was all between the age of 13 right up to 18 when I decided to go to uni.
Yeah.
So from college times, I've developed a serious interest for business, and that was from one of my friends his dad was a businessman, and he said he wanted to be a businessman, and he just said that being a businessman is a freedom. You can be anything, you can do whatever you. So I thought, I want that bit of freedom. So in college, after Mr. Winston sort of coerced me into wanting to sign up for uni, I was still heavily involved with a few things. It got to a point where a lot of my close friends started going to prison during this time. So. And funny enough, believe it or not, I filled out my university, because back then, I shouldn't say back then because I'm sounding like I'm really old.
Yeah, exactly.
But back then you filled out your application on like a piece of paper. I filled out mine in what they will call a trap house, a junkie's house, a drug house. So for me, it's just little things like that. I just sit back and I think about it, and to me, it just felt normal. It didn't feel like I was doing something crazy. Other people might have filled out theirs with their parents side by side, but I just filled out myself in a junkie's house. Not like my mom couldn't help me, but I didn't want the help. I felt like she had more on her plate, so I felt like the best thing I could do for her is anything I have to sort out for myself, I will sort it out myself.
Yeah, I think it's a really powerful picture, filling out a uni application whilst in a drugs house, and that shows the desire though to I guess to want to better your circumstances.
But I was scared though.
Yeah,
that's really the thing. I was scared. My friends are starting to go to prison. Like for me, I've only been arrested once.
Yeah.
Which I ended up in prison once.
Which we'll get
Some people could see, that's bad luck, but to me, I see that as that's a good run. But like I said, for me, it was the motivation was what Mr. Winston said, and also at the same time that I didn't want to go to prison. Prior to that, what you hear from prison, you'll be scared. I wouldn't.
You wouldn't want to go there.
I did what I did because, I had ambitions towards becoming something. I didn't do it just to be a nuisance or because I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I did it because, I'm an only child. I have no older brothers. Well, from my dad's side, but they're back home in Nigeria. I have no older siblings living with me. I have no other support apart from my mum, and she has bills to pay. She has loads of things to pay. And me personally, I felt like she was already doing enough. So anything else from that, I could take it on myself.
Yeah, I understand that, man. And also, you didn't only do that degree, right? You also did a master's.
Oh, yeah.
You did a master's in international relations as well. And you did well in that. But the thing is, and you know, I felt for you when you were explaining your story, because we obviously had a few phone calls before doing the podcast. And so, you know, you did uni, right? You did the master's. But then when you came out of that master's, you said to me that you sent off literally thousands of applications, yeah? And for most people, you know, myself included, at least in my experience, having, you know, a degree in a master's was enough to get me an opportunity. But you said you sent thousands of applications out, you heard nothing back. You also mentioned to me that you felt a bit of discrimination in some instances for just being a young black guy, people asking to like see your qualification
to prove them, they don't believe it.
Yeah, which is mad. So,
but to be fair, I feel like part of that came with because I was quite young as well, because I had my master's when I was like 21 years old.
Right. Okay.
So it's like, imagine a young, skinny, short, black kid coming in saying, yeah, listen, I got a master's degree. Yeah, let's do this. But, you know, and another thing as well, you know, not to just sort of because I don't want it to be a thing where it feels like I'm just sort of blaming it like, oh no, it's discrimination, this. I also liked work experience. You know, in the crucial years where, you know, like I said, there wasn't any sort of a figurehead in my household, or, well, there was my mum, but I'm talking about like an advisor, someone who I would have seen go through certain life instances. Yeah. And then I sort of learn from their mistakes. Because remember, for me, I'm coming from Nigeria. So it's not like I've got an older brother who was already in this country, who's gone through secondary school, gone through uni, gone through so on and so forth. I never knew about the credit system until I was 23 years old. I'm really embarrassed to say that. And that's just because I've never had a job. Yeah, man. And you do need those older role models, right? Who've been through it to explain stuff to you. And again, you know, like in a lot of senses, I was fortunate to have had that, you know, that's what I'm saying. In my parents. So I knew about those things. And you touched on one thing there, the credit score, which I did want to talk about, because eventually you did get yourself a job. It was at Nationwide. You had, and the bit that killed me about the story, you even told me you had the uniform. I had the uniform ready. I had everything. Oh, yeah, man. Yeah. You know, I still get nightmares about that day. I've still got that letter. I look at that letter anytime something good happens to me, I just look at that letter as a reminder. It's like it balances me. Could you explain, because obviously I know in detail what happened, but could you explain for the listeners what happened? After you know, so many years of just struggling, and by the way, with my masters, I paid for it myself as well. Through technical means. You know, but even with that, so for me, let's just see that as an investment. A lot of people that have done what I've done end up with a gold chain, Rolexes, probably some expensive jewelry, grills, so on and so forth. But for me, like I said, I was doing my thing for a purpose. You know, I wanted to, because I was so heavily into DJing, when I did what I did, I invested some of the money towards parties. When I did what I did, I invested some of the money towards DJ equipment. And I've still got those DJ equipments. These certain things that I'm even saying, some of my friends that I haven't even spoken to them about this. A lot of people don't really know the deep side, the true insight of how I am and how my come up has been. Maiya, just a quick thing. So when you were doing all those things, right? So investing in the masters, investing in the DJ stuff like that, was that because you always wanted to get away from the drug side of things and you wanted to go legit, or was it just because in the beginning you were interested in bettering yourself while doing that as well? It's because in the beginning I'm interested in bettering myself, because that's what it is. Like I said, you see what I was doing when I was selling weed, it was one thing. It was around the time I was in school. Now from when I finished school, just about year 11, so let's say about from the age of 15 right up to, that was when I started going on to the harder stuff, you know, which was crack cocaine, heroin, cocaine. And that was when I sort of started dealing with those sort of things. So then it's one of those ones where the money that was coming from it, because remember, I've started doing the flashy thing from the age of 13. So you've already done that. So it's like from 15, even if I was still doing some flashy things, it's like I wanted to think, what was next? What can I do with this? And it's just that I just didn't want the money around me, because it started to bring a lot of paranoia. The thing with that lifestyle is it brings a lot of paranoia you will literally lose your soul. And when I explain that, it's just nothing made me happy. Literally nothing made me happy.
Wow, man. Yeah, I can understand. And the paranoia is certainly something that I can imagine you would feel constant anxiety and stuff like
imagine
that.
Being, 50? Imagine right now. Think of where your mind was at when you was like 15 years old.
Man, I didn't know.
Just think about it. Yeah? Now imagine having an ounce of cocaine under your bed and $2,000 in cash.
I can't. Yeah, mate. And one thing I'm interested about, right? So when you were in your home area, obviously it was quite normalised. Your friends were involved in those things as well. But you go off to uni, and I imagine you probably made some friends, obviously, that weren't involved in that. Now, did they know that you were selling drugs? And did you ever experience anybody, I guess, like looking down on you for doing it? Like how was that coming out of where it was normalized to another area where it was slightly different?
Now back in the days it was normalized to the sense where if you're out doing whatever you're doing, it will be only the people that are doing what you're doing as well would know. It's not something like this day and age where people would video it. Oh, look, I'm here doing this, doing that. This way's this way's that. It's like on a need to know basis. So even when I did start, when I was selling a bit of weed, it wasn't really that much of a big deal because some of my friends smoked weed. But you see, back then it was frowned upon to even be around junkies. Yeah, it's not glorified. I don't glorify it because it's a very, very nasty world. Yeah. So is a sort of world where you're either in it because you've hit rock bottom or you've got some kind of mad plans or you're just a crazy person.
Did that change though when you went to university, when you did the bachelor degree and when you did the masters? Were you effectively, providing for a different clientele, and was that different vibe?
That's the thing. Now you see the problem with making my environment my product is that I took that mentality and I brought it into anywhere I go. It's like I have this mentality. You see how they say you could take this out of this person, but you can't take that person out of this. Yeah. So it's just one of those things where it's like I had friends that were doing what they're doing, and I had friends that didn't know what was going on. The ones that didn't know what was going on, I kept it kosher with them. I promoted more my DJing side and DJing aspects to them. So in their head, they probably thinking this guy's making money because he's DJing.
Right, I see. Okay.
So my other friends who are on the streets doing whatever, they knew the other side. Like, okay, this is what this guy's actually doing. But then even with that, I tell them that the extra money I'm making is from DJing. Yeah. So
it's about having that covered.
It's about having that. No one really knew what I was doing. So then even when I went to uni, a lot of people thought I was just there. My street friends thought I was there, just sort of setting up base.
Right, yeah.
All my uni friends that I'm meeting, they didn't have a clue, but they would hear stories. They would hear, because things travel, words travel fast. Yeah. And tell you a funny story. There was in my MA course, there was a young lady who, we built up a good repertoire because she's from Nigeria. She came to the country just to study the course. Yeah. And, was talking, and she's asking me about life in the UK. We're talking. And I said to her, oh, my house is just there. I pointed up at my house. To God be my witness. As I pointed at my house, a police officer walks out with a gun and so on and so forth. But that's because one of my friend had a case which he was found not guilty, but then they messed up the paperwork in the court. Yeah. And it looked like he skipped court and didn't come. And it was quite a serious case. Right. So because it was kind of like for violence, so they sent gun police there. Yeah. So imagine I said, that's my house.
It's not a good look, is it?
The way she looked at me, I said to her, just carry on walking. Yeah. I got down the road, someone paced up to me and, I saw police coming out of your house. Is everything okay? There's me.
It's not for me.
I'm here talking to you. Listen, let's just keep walking.
Right, I can imagine.
Even things like that is like if you're accustomed to that lifestyle or something, or even if you just stop, you're going to go through a period where it would chase you and there will be certain things that would affect you. Yeah. Like back in the days in my area, when I used to do whatever within my area, within the Balham area, I could be walking on my mum and a junkie would see me and recognize my face.
No, yeah.
But that was when I sort of learned, okay, I'm not going to do my thing around my area, so on and so forth. And that's when the whole county line thing started.
Right.
But even before that, uni, uni is just something where, like I said, there's no support system except for my mum. My mum did the best she could do. You know, I was in Leicester for 4 years. My mum's only been there 3 times. So you can only imagine. And all the times when she first dropped me there and the 2 graduations. And that's it. Because I always want to just be independent. I feel like best thing I could do for her is to just be self-sufficient. So then she can have better focus at sorting out all the other things that she needs to sort out in life.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, but then in uni, like I said, like I love learning, man. I love learning, and uni is when I sort of started really, really learning. Yeah, is when I sort of really got the interest for further education.
Yeah, man, and you did well. You got a degree in business management. You got a master's in international relations, and sort of getting back to where we were before we backtracked a bit there. Obviously, we talked about the fact that you sent off thousands of applications after, and we talked about the fact that we had just got to the nationwide story, which is basically where you were about to start a nationwide the next day after ages of searching, and then you've got the uniform, and then they tell you that because you've got a bad credit score, something you didn't even know about, that they effectively pulled the rug from under your feet the day before you start. Now, I can't imagine what your mental state was like after that setback, after trying so hard to get something, getting it eventually, thinking, I might be able to go legit here, job at Nationwide, and then it's taken away from you at the last minute.
Honestly, even as you're speaking about that, I'm just getting taken back to that feeling of that I remember that day where I literally got the letter from the post, everything. I snapped. Because when I came out of uni, I wasn't really dealing with hard drugs or anything like that. I sort of left that whole life behind because I thought to myself, look, from when I decided to do the masters, because I had one of my close friends who we did the education together, innit? So, and funny enough, we filled up for the MA application on my PS4.
Really?
Yeah, it was literally playing FIFA, and they said, well, we should do it, because he was looking into it, but he just wanted me to sort of come along with him. Yeah. So, but we all did it. We had a bit of money saved aside and we invested into it. But the point is just that from when I did that was when I made the decision like, all right, look, I'm not going to sell any drugs, so on and so forth and whatever. And even before that, I had a close call. I'd made so many close calls that I don't even talk about it, because like I said, I don't really glorify it. But I had loads of close calls with police, with junkies, with just other guys in general, so on and so forth. So even with that, it was getting to a point where it's like, okay, this is not fun anymore. Like it's never been fun, or it shouldn't even be fun. It should be a means to an end, but this is not fun anymore. Like I literally need to make a decision, because now that uni is done, the little one summer I had in the area, so much things is happening. Time to go again. Let me just further my education, and at least maybe that way it would expand my chances of getting a suitable form of employment, regardless of my background. With a master's degree, I might be able to stand out.
Absolutely.
Which I did, but it don't mean nothing.
Nah, man.
It didn't mean nothing. So
yeah.
But when I saw that letter of rejection, when they said, look, we can't, we found a little default in your credit system, so on and so forth, through the Equifax or CIFAS. I have to go through CIFAS and so on and so forth. Like that took me out, man. Like it made me snap. It just made me say, okay, so what was this for? At that precise moment there and there, I regretted going to uni. I even regretted going to college. I just at that point, I just thought to myself, I should have just had both foot deep in the streets, because who knows, by now I would have probably had enough money to start a little catering business or a car wash business, or these stereotypical businesses that they say drug dealers open. I could have started one of those.
Exactly.
Or casino or something. A casino. No, but you know what I mean. So for me, it's just, and I don't really like regretting. Because remember, like I said, there is no one making mistakes around me for me to learn from. So things I do, I try to be very careful with it. Yeah, man. Because I'm the first making the mistake.
Yeah, and it's difficult when you're the first person making a mistake. And I can certainly imagine, when you had that nationwide job taken away from you, then you thought, right, okay, this isn't working out for me. So I'm gonna go straight back to it. All in and harder than ever. And so you got back to those ways. And another thing that I loved about your story, Maiya, was kind of the mental health aspect of it. And that's something that you were very open with me about, right? Because you got to the point where you were swimming against the tide, basically, basically trying to get these opportunities. Nothing was going your way. So in that sense, you're feeling a bit helpless and thinking, this is never going to work out for me. And then also sort of adding to sort of those signs of being depressed, you told me that you almost had a bit of OCD really before, right? So you would keep your room really tidy, things would be in their places, immaculate. But, that was a sign. The fact that you were leaving stuff out of place, not caring about that was a sign of that. And also, it wasn't just sort of these feelings of depression, it was also the anxiety, right? Because you also told me that, you had like 6 cars dotted around or 5 cars dotted around the place to try and evade police. So you're in this state of like, nothing's going your way. You're getting back to things in a very big way. You're feeling anxious. Could you talk to us about your mental state in that time?
Well, in that time, you see, with my mental state, you need to understand from the beginnings of, having money for all these years, doing all these things, fast money, so on and so forth, and then me almost putting all my eggs in one basket and going to uni, sort of saying, yeah, I'm done with that life. I'm just going to go to uni and come out of a MA, and hopefully I could secure a decent job that will pay me well, where I could look after my family and, look after myself financially. Leading up to the year with that nationwide thing, from coming out of uni, it's like my bubble popped. No longer am I, a student, considered a student, quote unquote. I'm now just considered an unemployed guy.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like a few months ago, I'm considered a student, a postgraduate student. Yeah. I hate all these words, all these fancy words as well. They get me so angry. Like postgraduate student. But then now I'm just an unemployed guy living at my mum's house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, the constant, my mum's had like 4 years without me being in the house, and all of a sudden I'm back in. I've had 4 years without having to hear her complain to me about nothing, and now I'm back in. So of course there was going to be a lot of tension. Me and my mum, we fell out. We wasn't really seeing eye to eye, and it's just the fact that, my money went low. I had to change my spending habits, and through all of that, it's like it was coming to an end. As in like, okay, it would have all been worth it because I now had that nationwide job.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, it was on limbo. It's, you've got the job, you're starting on this day. I had the start date. Yeah. And I was meant to start on a Monday, but then I got the letter on a Saturday. And from then I just snapped. I just said, literally, fuck all of this.
Yeah.
Fuck all of this. The fuck did I do all of this for? What the fuck did I spend my time going uni for? What the fuck did I put my fucking stack down, which is my money I had saved from doing whatever, down to investing it towards this master's, And it just got to a point where I lost my mojo. Like I lost my mojo, I lost my confidence. People would want to speak to people, would be speaking to me and I'll be staring straight through them. I just didn't want to be there. I'll wake up in the morning and I would want to go straight back to sleep. I just want the day to end. And, like I said, I used to be OCD, I will align everything from the biggest to the smallest, And so, it's from going to prison where I realized, my days, I was really depressed back then. I just thought I was just unhappy. I was just thought, I'm a little bit unhappy because I'm broke. Let me get maybe if I get some money, I'll change my situation. I'll change my mood, so on and so forth. But it was a time where I was seriously, but I didn't see no one about it. I didn't speak to no one about it. I spoke to my close friends about it, just so I just let them know. Because like I said, my emotions were all over the place. I would snap over the littlest thing. I was just going through a time where I just thinking about how I felt and where my mental state was at back then. I wouldn't want to go back there.
Man, it's interesting, isn't it? When you've been in at a really low point like that, because I've been at really low points as well, to the point of being suicidal and stuff, it almost gives a shiver down your spine when you think back to it, doesn't it? It's like, I never want to be in that situation again, that way of feeling. And,
no way.
I can understand. I think you explained that really, really clearly. And this is where sort of the final big crash was coming, if you like, because obviously you were in that life, you were having these feelings, and you were eventually caught with 194 wraps of crack cocaine and heroin, and eventually sentenced to 30 months in jail. But could you talk to us about how you got caught, and also what feelings you had when you were first put in cuffs and you thought, okay, now this is all over?
Well, for me, like I said, through all of that, fast forward, mental breakdown from receiving that rejection letter, a letter to just say we're taking back the offer. Just before I even get to this, imagine I even contacted Sci-Fi and the problem was sorted out. But by then, the offer was already gone.
Someone else fixed your credit score, but it was gone too late. Yeah.
Big slap in the face. But, with that being said, I, dove back into the streets. It was literally a phone call and a conversation. Like I said, I've always been like a reliable person or someone that people know they can do business with me, whether it's illegal or legal. I always kept it clean cut.
Yeah.
For me, that's my greatest currency. My greatest currency is the fact that people can rely on me. That's it. It's not money. It's just you can rely on me. I'm not going to cheat you or set you up or do anything like that. It's just not in me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to say I haven't done shiesty things, but I've had to do shiesty things. But it's one of those ones where if I'm doing something with someone where it's a together business thing, I wouldn't think to snake them, basically. So, like I said, it was only a phone call away. Made that phone call, made it happen. And then things started happening, man. Things started happening. I sorted out, I could honestly say I sorted out all of my financial problems. But then I started to get new problems that I just... this money wasn't making me happy.
So how did the police catch you in the end?
ANPR cameras. Now this is around the times where the county line stuff started getting on the news. Attention, but these things have been going on way back then, and it was probably even worse back then. Like the ANPR cameras. Obviously, what it is just they were doing an operation, innit? I wasn't the only one that was caught. There was loads of people that was caught. Like, I think the day that they nicked me, I think they nicked like 13 other people before nicking me. It's like they were doing a clear up. That's what they were doing. They were doing a clear up.
Yeah.
So then the ANPR camera picked me up and they watched me for 3 days, just thinking I should come back to the area. But this is where the irony is. I had different cars that I could have possibly just changed.
Yeah.
But I got too complacent. Because like I said, I've never been arrested and I've been doing my thing. So I thought to myself, and it was literally just 2 minutes. I still have nightmares about this day. 2 minutes of complacency.
Really?
And that was all it was.
Why? What happened in those 2 minutes?
I had the parcel out on my wrap. I had the parcel out on my lap and I was driving because I made a cell and then I was going to drive to literally go meet another cell down the road. Literally 2 minutes down the road.
Yeah. 2
minutes down the road. Up till today, I get nightmares about it,
Yeah, I can imagine, man.
2 minutes down the road and they T-packed me. It's a tactical stop.
Yeah, where they block you in with the cars.
Yeah, because I would have taken the chase. Yeah, I would have definitely taken the chase.
Yeah, but it's interesting. You say, you have nightmares about that day or whatever and sort of, wishing you hadn't got caught. But here's the thing. If you hadn't got caught, where would you be right now? Would you be in the situation that you're in right now? I don't know. Part of your story of change, getting caught and going to prison has been a part of that.
You know what? This is what I actually think about a lot as well, But remember, in a twisted way, prison was the biggest relief for me. It's like so much pressure just got taken off me.
Yeah.
Like so much. Every time I try to tell people about my time in prison, it's like they won't believe me or they'll think I'm over exaggerating it. But if you meet people or anyone that has been in prison around the same time I was in jail, they would tell you themselves, like it's because, like I said, the way I was feeling when I was free, it almost, you wasn't free. There was so much pressure. Let's think about, let's put it into perspective. I just came out from uni. I'm going broke. I can't even go back to the streets because I'm in a twisted way. Why would I do that when I've got a master's degree? I can't get a job because I spent 4 years of my fucking life in education, not building any experience, and no one's going to hire me. And the only fucking reason I went to uni was because I was told that to get a good job, you need a degree. But then by the time I went to fucking uni, the whole system changed. Yeah, it changed, didn't it? So now employers are asking for experiences. but how the hell can I get an experience when I've spent 4 years of my life in education? You know what I mean? So, and it's just with that lack of experience, and there's certain things like, okay, recommendations. Do you have anyone who works in this company already who you could, put their name and their ID and we can contact? That's a disadvantage. And then they ask you questions like, are you black?
Yeah.
Are you straight? Are you this? Are you that? All these questions, I just felt like I just got put at the bottom of the list. The minute I tick, I'm black. You see, in all my forms, I tick prefer not to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't want to say it. You just have to see me on a day.
Yeah, man. And it's a shame that through your lived experiences, you feel that putting prefer not to say is going to give you a better chance of getting a job.
Better chance than me actually letting them.
It's crazy.
Honestly, it's scary. And it's just, and even little things like there was one time, sorry to go off the topic, but there was one time where I go into a cab, and as soon as I got into the cab, I just gave the cabman the money straight away. And he said, what are you doing? Like, you haven't even told me where you're going. You haven't even did it. I just said, no. It's just when I get into cabs, they always ask for the money up front. He's like, why? Doesn't mean, I don't know. Obviously, they might think I'm going to rob them.
Wow.
And to him, it's like, to him, it shocked him because it's like, you shouldn't be feeling like this. Why are you feeling like this? But a lot of people would just say, if you don't go through it, a lot of people just say, is an excuse, is this, is that. You could always try to work harder. You could have done this. You could have done that. I done that. A lot of people, if they're put in my thing, they'll fold.
Well, mate, that's the thing. Fold. The trouble is the people that are saying, it's excuses and stuff like that are not usually, black people who have lived it themselves. Do you understand what I mean? So, I think people should be careful before they make those judgments.
And as well, like, you see, just like those people that say, police aren't racist, they don't target black guys. I'm like, all right, cool. Do you want to be a black guy for the day? Because you will never know what it feels like. But do you know how I feel when I see police? Do you know how I feel? I swear to God, I would rather see a car go past full of guys with a balaclava on
than police.
Because I'll be more scared. I'll be more scared of the police there.
Yeah, and you have those fears for a reason because of the experiences that you've lived, so it's not for nothing, and it's obviously played a big part in your story. Yeah. So
that's what I'm saying, like all those things with prison and all these things, it wasn't nothing new. Been getting treated like criminals from young, was getting stopped and searched in secondary school, in school uniform. Do you understand?
Yeah.
But they can't even do that. They can't but we didn't know our rights to the point where our school even had to send us to some little course. It's called YLFSC, Young Leaders for Safer Cities, that just taught you your rights about stop and search rights because they were taking a piss, man. So then if police are able to do that brazenly in the streets, just imagine what an employer can do if he has a form here that says black guy, this, white male, this, Asian male, this. He has it there.
Yeah, and it's so sad that you felt that way.
Honestly, with this, even with this system, I think it just needs to be changed where you should just put your skills down, put what you can offer, and they see you.
Yeah.
All this, what ethnicity are you from? This is I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that a disadvantage, isn't it? That's all it is.
Yeah, absolutely. You would hope in some cases that they're asking for ethnicities and stuff like that so that they can actually say, right, okay, in our company, we don't have enough ethnic minorities. We need to actually get more, So hopefully it's being used in that way. But undoubtedly, there will be stigma and discrimination.
I honestly believe it's being more used in a way of, all right, let's just hire one black person. So we've got a diversity thing going on, and then because it's blatant. But for me personally, I don't mind. Let me be the one black person that you hire. Please give me the chance. Give me the chance. Give me the chance. Like, come on. Like, you listen to reggae? Me too. Yeah, let's do it. No, big man. Do you know what I mean? No, but it's just that for me, like, prison for me was a learning curve. And like I said, it was like a reset button. It made me deal with a lot of the emotional anxiety, a lot of stress, everything, I just wasn't in contact with anyone that I didn't want to be in contact with. So even with that, it's like, that's what I mean,
So is this Maiya then really when you decided that you weren't going to go back to selling drugs? Was that in prison when you had that reset, because I remember you told me that you weren't smoking in there, you know, drinking, like no vices like girls around, right? So you had a clear head. I also know that you came into jail when you were 42 kilos, man, which is way too light, you know, and then you left at like 74 kilos. So did you make the conscious decision whilst in prison, I'm not going to come back here, I'm going to change my life?
This is the best way I can describe it. This is the best way I can describe it. Like, I went to jail basically like a dying plant, you know, but then that's basically what it was. Like, I wasn't eating correctly. I was in a bad place, man. I was in a bad place. I looked different. I looked like the things I spoke about, my temperament, everything was different. But, you know, jail just sort of made me just deal with anything that I wasn't too sure about, anything that I was worried about, and I dealt with it, you know. Had a chance to work out as well, you know. I worked in a restaurant called The Clink, so then I had like a good meal plan, then extra gym time and so on and so forth. So with that, and it's just that, you know, I was also humbled by the amount of people that I've met that are going through worse. It just almost made my problem feel like it's nothing. You know, there's people that have lost mums and dads whilst they're in jail. I've seen all kind of stories, you know. So for me, it's almost like going to a place where I'm around loads of people who are at the bottom end of society. Because let's be real, prison is only filled with people that are at the bottom end of society. You know, I'm not saying that an elite person can't find themselves in jail, but I'm just saying that a majority of it is filled with just the people at the lower ends of society. So I've just learned to appreciate more. I learned to appreciate myself. I learned to be happy with the bare minimum. The bare minimum. And that's just how I've been living. In jail, it's not as much as, I didn't want to do this no more, because jail didn't faze me. I went to an all boys school. Like, and it's not like me saying an all boys school, it's not like it's like school. My school was heightened, like as in heightened testosterone, the fights, the this, the that, the politics. I just related like my school. So it's like, it's nothing new.
But the thing is, this is why I loved your story of change, right? Because, man, you didn't change because you were scared of jail. You told me that jail was a walk in the park for you, you know? Like, you changed because you got your head clear and decided that maybe there were different opportunities.
And I started getting the right information, because like I said, it's not like it was a walk in the park. Like, I had down days where I was upset. I was really bored. But what I meant by walk in the park is that people would imagine if you go to jail, you're just going to have fights, you're going to do this, you're going to do... Like, me personally, I've never been in any kind of gang. You know, I've always just been a hustler. So I'm not going to run into any, you know, gang rivals who would want to do something to me, or I'm not going to run into someone who I cheated or anything like that. So I had a clear mind. You know, so it's with that. And luckily enough for me as well, the sort of people I was meeting are people that were going through roughly the same transition as me, who were probably knee deep, neck deep, covered all the way, buried deep in the streets. And, you know, they're going through a stage where, you know, they want to move out of that lifestyle. And I really got lucky, because I always disclose that to people. I got lucky to just have gone to prison around a time where the system was focusing more on rehabilitating people, and focusing more on mental health, and people were going through a transition. And for the sole fact that I'm not a junkie, I'm not in a gang or nothing like that. So there was no one out there looking for me. So that's why I had such a comfortable time. And because I knew how to carry myself, and I'm willing to defend myself if I need to. So I didn't have that worry of anything.
One thing that I wanted to talk about, Maiya, as well, before we get back to, Key for Life and the final sort of change part of your story, because it hit me quite hard when I spoke to you. You mentioned to me that part of the reason jail didn't faze you when you were going in, it's because you thought, and the words you used were, what am I going to see in there that I haven't already seen on the streets? And we got to the point of talking about like this whole feeling of being desensitized to violence. You've seen stabbings, you've seen violence on the streets and stuff like that, to the point where it was normal for you. It didn't even shock you, right? And for someone, and you know, me listening to that, obviously, you know, I've never seen any of that. So for me, that was almost, it's almost shocking to hear, and it's sad to hear, because I imagine there are loads of other young people out there that, you know, feel the same way, and that's also probably partly why there is so much violence out there, because it's normalized.
It's
right?
normalized,
so
yeah.
Could you talk us through, if you're happy to, some of the things that you did see during your time, you know, involved in that life on the streets, and then this whole thing about being desensitized?
It's just look. You know, I've witnessed a lot of things. I've witnessed people get stabbed. You know. I could have been stabbed sometimes. I've had to run away from certain situations. People have had to run away from certain situations. But for me, that's how dangerous it could get, doing those sort of things, because those sort of things brings money, and, you know, it brings competition, and, you know, your competition could be willing to kill you. You could be willing to just get better products and so on and so forth, but he could be thinking about killing you fully just to just get you out of the way, you know. But it's one of those ones where there's no rules in it. So you have to just do it according to how you do it. But then at the same time, in a twisted way, you have to maintain some kind of morals to it. You know, like you can't snitch, you know, you can't talk about certain things. You know, like you don't serve kids or something like that.
Yeah. So
you don't serve a pregnant lady. There's people that don't give a fuck.
But you did have some of these.
But there's some of these things that I would care about, you know. Like,
and it's interesting because obviously, you know, Maiya, now you've transitioned back to you know, a legit life or out after you got out of prison, and we'll cover that last bit of change there in a minute. But do you think that at some point in your life you might need to go through a process of talking to someone, i.e. like a professional, about everything that you went through to kind of to denormalize those things? Or is it something that you've actually adjusted to yourself now, and you can and you don't see things in the same way before?
Funny,
do you know what I mean?
Funny you should say that, Sam. Yeah, me and my best friend was talking the other day and was like, right, we should go see a therapist or something, you know, because certain things that we've gone through, and even just that conversation on the phone to him alone, and we're talking about certain things that obviously we wouldn't talk about in public or to anyone, because there's things that only me and him will know, and it's just like, and it's like it's nothing, like, but that's a problem. That should be something.
That's why.
But here's the twisted thing though, Sam. If I feel like it's nothing now, I feel like it's a coping mechanism, innit?
Yeah.
It's a coping mechanism in my brain. I don't want to destabilize that coping mechanism of me desensitizing loads of things happening. Because what if I desensitize it and then one of my friends gets stabbed or something, and then now I take it a bit too hard because I'm so sensitized to it now.
Yeah.
I've had friends that have been stabbed. I've had friends that have died. Like, do you understand? Do you know what I mean? I've got friends riding serious time in jail. And for me, it's just like, when I see certain people glorifying it, that's the actual side, that's the actual reality of it. Do you know what I mean? That's why I am the way I am. And it is like, for me, I just felt like my escape was education. That's why I took that route. Yeah. Because that was my escape. That was the only thing that would have accepted me. And, you know, that was something that I took that route because I thought it was going to better me and take me out of my situation. Because I didn't want to be in my situation. I did what I had to do because I felt like I needed to. Because I had goals. Yeah. You know, I wanted to own a club. How am I going to do that without money? You know, because me and my friends at that time was into DJing. Like I told you, we used to be on radio. I was on Top FM when I was a teenager, and then I was even on Bang Radio when it first opened. But then that got put aside when I was going to uni. Yeah. And you know, just going to prison, you learn loads of things. You learn things about family. You learn just things about friends in general. But then the good thing, there's good and bad things about going to prison. You know, the good thing about going to prison for me, well, there's no such thing as a good thing about going. I don't know what I just said. I said the good thing. No, but maybe there are. Good thing.
Maybe there are, man. You changed your life after coming out of prison.
Dead. Yeah. No, but there's no good thing. I wouldn't send my worst enemy to jail. Yeah. Honestly, no. Yeah. Do you understand? Yeah. It's one of those ones where it's just like the only reason is good things can come out of it. Yeah. There's no good thing about prison, but good things will come out of it. That's the best way to put it, Sam. But it's one of those ones, where it's like I said, I've learned to appreciate the people that will go out their way to write me a letter, to do, you know, I appreciate that so much, man.
Yeah, but you also you had to do a lot of internal work yourself, right? Which we were talking about, and then here comes the real sort of launch pad for your story of change, which was you were working in the clink and you met this charity, this organisation, Key for Life, which they help ex-offenders sort of get their lives back on track after leaving prison. Could you talk to us about what made you want to get on board with them? And I know that you didn't actually sort of start working with them until you got out of jail, right?
Yeah.
So if you could talk to us about meeting them, getting released, and how that's been.
Now, like I said to you, well, luckily for me, I went to prison around the times where the system is changing towards rehabilitation, aiming at more towards rehabilitation than punishment.
Yeah.
Now, because I worked in a restaurant called The Clint, because I was a low-risk criminal, I wasn't in for a violent offence. It's my first time ever getting nicked. Really and truly, the judge should have just given me a suspended sentence, honestly. But with what the prosecution was asking for, he just sort of you lot, it's his first time getting nicked, but I'm going to send you to a custodial sentence. I'm going to send you to jail just because of the amount you was caught with and the seriousness of the crime, so on and so forth. All right, no problem. But I believe if I was a white boy, I would have got a suspended sentence though, definitely. Because it's my first time getting arrested. Point blank. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There was no previouses. There was nothing. I wanted to appeal it, but some of the friends in jail just said, listen, don't appeal it because it could get worse, because at least you only got 10 months custodial. Then you're out on tag for 5 months or even with that. But my point is just, in Key for Life, like I said, because I was low risk, I was eligible to work in these sort of places. Now, the Clink, they have one in Highdown prison. They have one in Manchester, I think. I don't know if it's Manchester or Birmingham. And they have one in Brixton prison. Yeah. Now, Brixton prison is mostly like a release jail. It's like a CCAT, category C release prison. I don't know if we've got enough time, but I wouldn't be able to explain all the categories. No. But it goes from A to D, innit?
Yeah.
Triple A to D.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So most serious ones.
Most serious one is at the A's, and the less serious ones at the D's. Yeah. I was at the C cat. Yeah. The C category. Yeah. So then, because of my low security, I was able to work in a restaurant called The Clink, which it allowed members of the public to come and eat in a restaurant, which the food was made by prisoners. But it's not like it's prison food, but it's proper organic food. Like we have proper chefs, like 5-star chefs and so on. I've met some famous chefs. Wow. I've just forgotten their name. Yeah. And obviously you couldn't record it and say, hey, I'm with this guy here. You couldn't record it. So I've met a few dukes and that, because it's quite like a prestigious place. It's almost like you have to book it in advance. You can't just turn up and say, I want to eat there, because you have to go through like a security clearance.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. But through that, the Key for Life, they start with, it's not just for people who have been to prison, it's a prevention. And initially, it's meant to be like a prevention type thing. So it's like either preventing you from going to prison, preventing you from returning to prison. Yeah. That's what it's all about. And, I met a lady there called Khadija and a guy called Corey. And, there was also a guy who was 2 cells down. He was already in the course, but you have to have like a year left of your sentence. Now, I met them when I had like 6 months, I think about 6 months left of my sentence, because I just got to Brixton and I just started working in the Clink, and I think a month later they came. So then they just had my detail. They had my details, left the details for me. I gave them some of my details, like my email. Yeah. So I know it's there. But when I came out of prison, Corey, one of the Key for Life members, he reached out to me. And the reason that I really, really liked them was just the fact that, my mate vouched for them. And also, they were informal. They weren't really formal. I'm not really a formal type person. Like, if I had to come in here with a suit and, these are words you can use and not use, I don't like formal things. I don't,
it's got to be more casual, yeah.
Yeah, I like more casual so I can be myself, so I can express myself. I don't see myself as a formal person like that. So I might say some things that I might be like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, what the hell's going on now? But with that, that's why I like them, because they were informal. You can come there. They understand that, you need a bit of work, so on and so forth. And through them, I managed to meet a magnificent lady called Georgie. And she's the creator and editor of a advertisement company. I don't know. She always corrects me and so on and so forth. I'm not sure, but she might even correct me after self.
Get it right.
Yeah.
You better get it right.
It's called Sherlock's.
Yeah.
And she met me around the time where I was still on tag when she met me, because this is when I just came out of jail. And and imagine that day I came back from court from getting my driver's license revoked because I had a different case before I went to prison. But so I was pissed that day. I was so pissed. I was frowning.
Wow. Yeah.
I was frowning. I just came and said hi to everyone. I went and I sat down and to the window and just screwing. No one. I wasn't speaking to no one. And she came in and we just started talking and and she gave me an opportunity, man, for the first time in my life, like Key for Life and Sherlock's. I can honestly say they're the first two institutions that have given me the sort of support system that I would have needed. If I had a support system like that,
you would have done it a lot earlier.
I wouldn't have gone to prison. If I had a support system like that, as in when I came out of uni, I definitely wouldn't have gone into prison. Definitely not.
Yeah, but it's finally you got the support that you needed, and you've made the most of that support. I mean, with them, you've done and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you've done a property placement. Yeah, so you got some experience working in property.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
And you did a digital publishing placement.
Yeah.
And I think, was it whilst doing the digital publishing placement that you actually decided to get in front of the camera? And is that how the modelling came along?
That's what I'm saying. It's all down to Georgie, because naturally, because remember I told you we used to DJ and so on and so forth, so I will MC, but naturally I love media. I love videography, photography, video editing, Photoshop. That's things that if I'm not paid to do that, I will still do it.
Yeah.
Because I love it. So initially it was like an employability thing.
Yeah.
Because even, like I said, I've been to uni and that, so I knew I had a CV, I had everything. I just needed to edit it. So, she just invited me to a 3-day work taster to the SL, the Sherlock's headquarters. And she explained to me that she was thinking about starting like a different sector to a business, like a next sector that targeted male, because Sherlock's is mainly for women. So she targets women mainly. But then because of SL Man, which is Sherlock's Man, she's created that whole part of that business to start targeting men. And, she did that with me in mind. So I'm really and truly SL Man.
Mate, that's amazing.
And that's what she did for me, So for me, it's just like, that's something that it will, to her, it's just, it's nothing. Come in, 3-day work taster.
Yeah.
Georgie, I like this place. I like this. She asked me, how did you feel about the place? I said, look, I enjoy it. All the ladies here, they're all nice to me. They're all kind. There was a cameraman there called Rich, Mystery Rich. Everyone calls him Mystery Rich because no one sees his face. Literally, no one sees his face. Yeah. No one sees his face. Yeah. But like, me and him, we always got this joke that I'm like, one day I'm going to blackmail you and say, put the money in the car, I'm showing your face. I'm showing the world what you look like. But Rich, honestly, he's a good guy. He's just, me and him, we every time when the cameras are, we'll speak, we'll get to know each other. We built up a good repertoire. And I just wanted to sort of be like his PA.
Yeah.
Even if I wasn't getting paid. Because remember, at this time, I'm still on tag.
Yeah.
So this would have been good for me for different things, with probation, with, loads of things, and just networking and something for me to come out of the house so I get my mind off things, So then it's just, she was just like, I think you belong more in front of the camera than behind the camera.
Wow.
So man, I'm thinking, what are you talking about? She sorted me out, man.
That's incredible.
She sorted me out.
So you've become the face of a fashion brand. It's been based around you. That's incredible, man. So let's talk about sort of the goals looking forward from now. Is it a career in modeling that you want? Do you want to do a mix of different things? What can we expect to see from you in the future, man?
Well, for me, whilst also through Key for Life, I also managed to do another 3-day work taster with a property development company called Lansec.
Yeah.
And they're based in Victoria. And even with that, I learned a lot from them. And, if anything in life would have made me make a decision that I don't want to go back into crime, was during my time in Lansec.
Wow. Why? Why was that such a...
Because there's so much money
Yeah.
in property. There's way more money there's so much more money in property than, you know, obviously drug money always comes, but it's fast. But for me, it's like I got to a stage in my life where in jail, like I remember how you said what made that change happen, because I wasn't scared of jail. I wasn't. What made that change happen is the change of progress. I just wanted to progress. I didn't care about money no more. Money wasn't my motivator. Money isn't my motivation anymore. It's progress. You understand? Like same way how me and you coming and having this conversation is I enjoy it. Yeah. I enjoy things like, because I don't know who I could help, who could probably think, I could help you out. Yeah. Let me get in contact with him, you know? You never know. And for me, this is just what my life has become. This is where I get my happiness from now, which is progress, which is, even if it doesn't have to be my progress, it could be someone else's, you know? If I have a set goal and I complete it, it's there. You know, I don't have to be some rich man or be chasing the money, because if I chase a grand, I make a grand, I'm going to want 2, then I'm going to want 4, then I'm going to want 8, then I'm going to want 16. Even if I get to 100K, I'll meet someone who's got more, and that's going to make me want more.
So that's interesting. Yeah, you have to focus your goals around progress rather than financial goals, because otherwise it's just, where does it stop?
It's because what number are you chasing to? Where's the limit? Where does it stop?
Yeah.
At least with progress, I could just say, you know what, today I'm happy. I met up with Sam. We got the podcast out of the way. Yeah. We was meant to plan it ages ago, but we figured out, you know what, rather than doing it via Zoom,
we'll do it in person.
It's better. Now, this is progress. I'm happy about this. Yeah. Today is the little endorphins in the brain.
Yeah. It's progress. Yeah, it's progress for me as well.
That's what it is. That's what, do you get it? That's what people are really chasing. Some people think that those endorphins will come out from money, or from buying a car, from buying this. Yeah. It didn't mean nothing. Progress, if anything, is more responsibilities.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And the thing is, man, like, you know, looking back on your story, you've been focused on progress from a young age, man. You know, like with doing well at school, with going to uni and all the rest of it. What happened was you were just involved in another thing as well. That's it.
Do you know what the greatest motivation for that was? And I feel like that has affected me in life, because I now do that with everyone. Limited choices. I had limited choices.
This is actually the next thing that I wanted
to talk. This is what I was trying to show you. I had limited choices. Mate, I didn't have a choice.
This is the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about, Maiya, because so on this podcast, I'm obviously keen not to glorify any criminal life or anything like that.
Definitely
right?
not.
And I said to you on the podcast, before the podcast, I was like, what can we say sort of at the start or whatever to try and sort of, you know, discourage people from that life? But you actually brought me back to reality in a sense. And you said, and again, it shows, like I hadn't lived that life, so I don't know how these kids think, right? Yeah. So you brought me back to reality, and I love that. Do you know what I mean? That's also why you need to spend time around people outside your own echo chamber, honestly, to learn about these things. So I said that to you, and you said to me, look, Sam, like, discouraging is not going to work for the kid who is living in a deprived area. It's all around him. He wants to get money. He's not going to listen to words of discouragement.
What are you going to say to him? Oh, it's scary it's scary in a junkie's house. He'll say, so there hasn't been heating in my house for 1 week.
Yeah.
How scary is that? Imagine no heating in your mum's house for 1 week. What is more scarier than that? Do you understand? Not having food. It's a place you're meant to feel protected. I'm not saying that's my story, but I'm saying these are the stories of a lot of people that police will just nick them and try to treat them like there's some Al Capone, big organized crime, mob family, and demonize them.
Yeah.
And better yet, it's police from some next area. They need to stop getting police to police these neighborhoods. They need to get people, like, even if they're not from that area, they need to be from within London so they understand what the fuck is going on. Yeah? Not just some fucking fed that just, black guys, let me just go get it. No, bruv. Calm down. Yeah? Because if you're from around here, you would know who's active and who's not active. Don't trouble these innocent youths who are caught up in it, because that's what these police officers do. You know, they trouble these innocent youths that are trying to progress their thing. Like what, you nick a 15-year-old boy for a little 10 bag of weed and actually go through to trying to charge him and now he's got that in his record. He can't get a job because you wanted to nick him for a 10 bag of weed.
Makes no sense.
Bruv, get that, throw it away, send him home. Do you understand? Now he can't get a job. Now he has to go into whatever. But what I was trying to explain to you was that there is nothing you can say to refrain someone from it. You can't scare people from it.
No, exactly. And this is why, you know, it was, you know, it's just one of those moments where you say, so I said that to you and you said it to me and straight away the penny dropped in my mind. I was like, what the fuck am I talking about? You're absolutely right. Like, but that brings me to the next thing then. So if not discouragement, what do we need to do as a society to try and make that option of going down a life of selling drugs less attractive? What can be done? What do you think should be done?
All right. Now, there's loads of things. I believe that the core thing is information. Information. A lot of these kids lack information. Like me, I lacked information. I didn't know what a credit system was until I was 23. If I'd have known what a credit system was from the age of 16, I would have probably just started getting a job. I would have got a little job on the side just so that I'm getting some kind of money in my account, so that I'm building up my credit system. That's the difference. It's about information from somebody who's come from a different country to then coming into these things, to then trying different avenues. Because I can honestly say I've done it. I've walked the two paths. It's information. Information comes whether you want it or not. So the only way you can do it for the next generation or so on and so forth is to get there with the right information first.
Yeah, provide them with information.
Not just them, also their parents.
Yeah.
Their parents need to know. Don't try and pressure your kids to do something they don't want to do.
Mate, that is so true, right? About, parents needing that information, because when I think back to my childhood, right, most of the stuff I got, my parents taught me, they told me because of their own experiences. Yeah. So that's a really important thing.
And time changes.
Yeah.
Time changes. My mum, listen, it's only now that my mum understands, because I told my mum, you don't know me. You don't even really know me. There was a time where I had to show her, you don't know me. You don't know what I go through from day to day. There's certain things about me that if you see, you'll probably collapse. You won't believe it's me.
Yeah.
So it's better to just for the sole fact that I make life easy for you just by me doing what I need to do to make things a little bit easy for me. The only thing you can do for me is try to understand. Yeah. That's it. Leave it there. If you don't understand, leave it there. If I don't want to talk about something, leave me alone.
That's interesting, man. That it does, yeah.
And it's not like I'm trying to belittle, or like there's certain roles that she could play as my mother, But then at the age I'm at now, the only sort of role that could be sort of have any effect or any impact is some kind of father role. And the father role is, write your CV like this. I've got this person who works in this company, and mate, go see him. You could do this. There's loads of people that do that. Like, listen, I graduated uni with people that their dads are coming and giving them wads of cash, and you start on Monday. Yeah. You start on Monday.
Yeah, they call it the old boys network.
Now imagine someone like that saying to me, you don't go through these issues because you just have to work hard. You have to be willing to just be there. Like, are you mad?
This is what I was talking about in the beginning, about not judging people you don't understand a thing about.
Do you know how ready you have to get your mind, before you get involved with hard drugs? Get your mind right. Get your mind ready. It's not a game. It's not a game. It's not a game. So these kids, and even with that, it's like some of these kids, they'd rather be dead than broke. Understand that.
Yeah, that's
understand that. They'd rather be dead than poor. So based off that, trying to scare people that no one cares. The more restrictions, it makes them more savage.
Yeah, that paints the most powerful picture for it, of saying they would rather be dead than broke. So what are we going to say?
But that's not even a big impact. That's just...
Yeah, that's just how it is. Yeah, of course. But and again, like there'll be a lot of people out there that haven't sat down and spoken to someone that's been through it, right? And so, like I have. So now I have at least a better understanding of it, and I know that discouraging thing doesn't work. It doesn't work. It comes down to information and opportunities.
That's it. Information and opportunity, and just giving someone a chance, and just educating not just them but their parents as well. Their parents as well.
That's key, yeah.
Do you understand? No Afrocentric parent will ever listen to their kid. Never. It doesn't matter if you're right. Honestly, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you have to get to a certain age where it's like these pressures, they're just doing the pressure because of what they've gone through. But they need to realize it's different. Like, I had to break it down to my mom that racism is not like it was when you thought it was. Now it's done in a subconscious way, and is hidden in sweet sounding words. Do you understand what I'm saying?
It's evolved, yeah.
Like, now people who are racist are politically correct. They just feel what they feel. That's it. Now, the only way you can stop that is by putting the system in place where no matter how you are as a person, it doesn't matter. I would rather jobs are done computerized. Just upload your CV. The computer will calculate all the data, everything that you put up, and it will bring out the other end and say, yep, best candidates for the job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, rather than being based on an ethnicity. Yeah, of course.
Do you understand?
Yeah, I would rather that as well,
but I would only want that because as a young black male, I believe I have a better chance that way.
Yeah.
Someone else probably wouldn't want that. Someone who knows that, if I'm coming for this interview, I'm just going to get it. They wouldn't want that because now it's balanced. Do you get it? It's now balanced. No one, come on, let's be real. No one really wants to balance it out. But if anyone that wants to make a change, communication in the forms of information, the amount of information you give these kids, let them know what they can do. Let them know the end result. They will always make their own choice. But information, literally, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
Information. Information. There's nothing else you can do. Can't scare them, can't dishearten them. If anything, they will just think, I'm the one that will survive then. Nah, it's about just information. Like, look, you know what? How much are you looking to be making? Okay, you can make that if you do this training, do this, do that. In X amount of time, you can make this. And look, in X amount of years, because me right now, with all I've been through, all of my siblings to come or my kids to come, the sort of advice I'll give them will be, I'll just show, you have to sort of wow them. You have to show them like, look, right now you're 15, do a little trade thing, get a little plumber's job, build up your credit.
You can earn a lot of money by being a plumber now.
Can you see what I'm saying? Build up your credit. You can even get a loan from the bank. So you could have this. This is how you talk to these sort of youths. You don't tell them, find a job or you will go to jail. What are you talking about? What does that mean to someone who hasn't eaten yesterday? What does that mean to them?
Yeah, it's the people that are out of touch with these situations trying to advise on how to resolve
them. And they're
them.
the ones that come on and have the bold statement, the bold opinion. Kids in this thing should be doing this. Yeah, let's put more police in the streets. No, bruv, that's the worst thing you can do. Because then all police are going to do is harass all these innocent youths. Because all the youths actively doing whatever they're doing, they know to watch out for police. They know what they're doing. They know where to go to avoid the police. They're not even in the area.
And it's just polarizing people in these communities.
And you're making it worse. You're making it worse. You're just making the police just take some power away from police. Honestly, and what I mean is that start only hiring brave men and women into the police force. There needs to be a certain level of bravery there because too many instances I cannot afford, for some police officer to put me in a choker and choke me to death, because he's scared of me because I'm black. Because I'm black and he thinks I could have a weapon on me.
Yeah, that's
and he chokes me to death. I would rather have a police officer who's strong and big and he knows in his mind, if I kick off one punch, he will have me down on the floor.
But also,
he's less likely to hurt me than someone who's terrified.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah, I do.
That's another way it could help. Lessen the amount of police there. Lessen it. It sounds crazy right now that I'm saying it, but lessen it, man.
I think it doesn't sound crazy to me at all, right? Because if you flood these areas with more police, and as you say, as a young
you're
black
going
guy,
to breed some savage criminals, some savage people.
Well, and also it's made you feel polarized, right? It's made you feel like a criminal from a young age. You said so. It's all it's doing is ingraining behaviors more,
and
rather
here's
than
another
actually
thing
trying to help.
It makes the presence of police become nothing.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Because they're everywhere. Yeah.
Nothing.
No, that is
nothing.
That
There's no fear for them now. I see them too often.
So rather than throwing all this money at more police, we need to throw money at information and opportunities.
Throw money at these. The sort of people they need to throw money at is these community leaders that actually have gone through certain things and they've been through it and they know these youths and they know what youths are actually active. But out of respect for those youths and their situation, they're not just going to call police and, come and grab this youth. This is the main guy. That's the main guy. They'll probably try to talk to him. But then he could just be stuck in the way. Well, what do you expect me to do? You know, some of these youths, like right now for me, I've taken more the path of dealing. Now imagine the youth who's taken the path of, let's say, gangbanging. You know, he's been involved in a gang for his life, and now he's actually got youth star actively out trying to stab him to death. What sort of advice are you going to give someone like that? Some of these systems, what I've gone through can definitely be avoided easily just by providing opportunities and a lot of information. If you don't want to do this, you can do this. If you need to do this, you can do that. This is how you write a CV. You know what? If you need help with this, you can go to this center. Usually a youth club, but they've closed them all down and built up new prisons and expanded prisons and extended prisons and started giving more time to people. Do you know that it's 42 grand, out of taxpayers' money to look after each prisoner per year?
Yeah, so it doesn't make sense to keep putting these people in jail. It's costing the taxpayers more money. Mayor, so just before we finish off, I mean, you mentioned like community leaders there, right?
Yeah.
And you speak about this stuff so passionately, so powerfully, yeah?
I don't want to be a community.
I was going to say, no, I'm serious.
So many people tell me that.
Have you ever thought about getting involved in that type of stuff?
Listen, Key for Life have told me this and told me that, but honestly, you see the thing with me, Sam, for me, I just feel like I'm someone that I understand it because I've been through it and so on and so forth. And you see, because of my time in uni, I've learned to know how to formally and academically break things down. For example, to you, where you could understand. And I could go and talk to someone who's from the streets, fully in the streets, probably hasn't gone to school, and I can explain to him what we spoke about in a way that he'll understand. That's just the only thing I have. I'm willing to sort of, okay, this, that, and this, and this, but I don't want to be the forefront guy, like, I'm the community guy, because I'm not perfect. I'm not a success story. What the hell are they listening to me for? What am I telling them for? Am I Bill Gates? Am I Floyd Mayweather?
Listen, mate, I wanted to talk to you for a reason, right? You just said you're not a success story. I disagree with that. I think you are a success story because you were a product of your environment. You did get involved in that life and you did go to jail. Yeah, that's a fact. But you've totally changed your life around now. And you talk about all these things so passionately, and you can set an example for other people to follow. So I wouldn't underestimate that.
Do you know what it is? I just believe that right now for me, I'm still work in progress. And I remember before, just going back to, you asked me before, you said, what do I want to do from here on out? For me, I would through Lansec, I want to go into property. For me, I feel like that's what the career base I want to do. But Georgie has made me aware, like I said, information. She's made me aware of the fashion world, and through my life experiences, like I said, I've actually got a business degree. I always tell people this when I start to, because some of my friends will forget when I'm giving them ideas and they'll be like, oh yeah, how did you know this? I'm like, I've got a degree. I studied this. You know what I mean? So, I know how to put things to plan. So for me, for my future plans, I plan to go into property development and also possibly modeling. Both. Why not? If they're the two things that have called in on me, and I can honestly say, Georgie has given me my first ever job in my life.
That's incredible, man. Well, you were overdue. You needed someone to come in and support you for once, and finally the tide is going your way. And I love all the stuff that you've been talking about. I've learned a lot from this podcast, and I hope a lot of people have as well. And Maiya, I feel like we could sit here and talk for 5 hours about this. We could talk all day about this.
Another time we'll talk about it's one of those where fundamentally, like, you see mental health. Like, I just want it to be a thing where people need to learn to be easy on themselves. Like, because people are usually their harshest critic.
That's really true.
Do you get it?
Yeah, that's really true. Yeah,
I've realized that my time in prison, I was a bit hard on myself. Like, but I was 21 years old. What kind of fucking job was I really trying to get? Why would I have let that get to me so much? But it's now that I'm 27, I'm thinking 21 was really young. But like I said, I grew up in a household where it's just me. I'm not seeing no one else go through it. So I'm feeling like I'm running out of time. That's what it felt like. I just felt like I was running out of time, and it's just a lot of people, mental health can, like, the negative aspects of it is that some people, their episode starts when they feel like they're running out of time because they set a goal. Like, oh, by this, I should be doing this and doing that. And if you don't get on it, you might feel bad on yourself. You bring yourself down. You might, like I said, you're your harshest critic. So you might be like, you're shit, man.
Mate, that is so
do you know
true.
what I mean? You're shit. Like,
everyone is their harshest critic, and I'm pretty sure it's a common concept when talking about, when trying to help people with their mental health. It's like you say, would you talk to your 7-year-old cousin like the way you're talking to yourself? How harsh you're being on yourself. Well, no, you wouldn't. And just before you give all of your bits of advice, before I ask you the question, I better say it before you shoot them all off. But mate, listen, mate, really, really appreciate you coming on, man. It's been great. But the final question I wanted to ask you, as you know, at the end of every podcast, I ask guests to give listeners a few bits of advice that might be able to help them going through a tough situation. And as I said to you, you can relate that specifically to some of the criminal aspects that you went through and some of the mental health aspects, or you can just give advice that might be able to generally help people going through a hard time, not necessarily knowing what that might be. So I'll leave that up to you, man. But any final bits of advice?
For the people who are on the criminal side, the advice I'll give is just come out. Like, don't set another goal. Don't sell your soul. Don't lose yourself. And at the same time as well, just don't take advantage of the youth. Like, don't take advantage of the youth. If their heart ain't in it, their heart ain't in it. And if there's a better way you could help them, there's a better way you could help them. Take that route rather than just don't be quick to put them in a trap. Just try to help them out genuinely. Now, for people going with mental health, surround yourself. Like I said, be nice to yourself.
That's key.
Surround yourself with people that genuinely love you. People that love you just for you. They're not loving you for the stability you bring to their life or how you make them. It's just, they just love you for you. That's the sort of people you need to surround yourself with, because those people are the people that will bring out the best in you, and they'll remind you of a side to you, a happy side to you that, you'll be lost to or you'll be oblivious to, The third one is just for anyone going through any struggles or anything like that. My mum always tells me this, and it's the truth. It's just, no condition is permanent. That's just all it is. No condition is permanent. Whatever you're going through now is now. And whatever problems you have now, please believe it wouldn't be the same problem a year down the line. But guess what? You will have new problems.
Yeah.
And then you'll get over them and have new problems. But guess what? That just means you're alive. And that's just all I've got to say to people. That just means you're alive. No condition is permanent. You'll be broke today and rich tomorrow. You can be broke again and then rich again.
It's just about learning to roll with those punches.
You just have to keep going on. And you have to also, another thing as well, that I'm just going to say generally, don't take it personal. Life is a bitch to everyone.
Yeah.
It's not just you. That's it. It's not just to you, bro. Honestly, I felt like, you see, in jail was when I realized, like, bro, life is actually a bitch to everyone, Like, he's pissed, I'm pissed. Like, but they're more pissed than me. You know what? At least I'm coming home to loved ones, this, that. Like, honestly, like, before you say bad things, or just do it like a balance, innit? If you say 3 bad things about yourself, say 3 good things about yourself. And if you can't say 3 good things about yourself, then match it. If you can only say 2 good things about yourself, then only say 2 bad things about yourself. Match it.
I love that, man. Yeah, don't be too harsh on yourself.
Never forget yourself. Never forget yourself. And remember, bruv, you're the chosen sperm.
Yeah.
Out of billions. Don't. Listen,
I'm still.
You get it. Your mum will always think you're the most good-looking person on earth. Don't let nothing.
You have to.
Honestly, man.
Honestly, I'm still thinking down the community leader route, man. Because I'm joking.
No.
I'm joking.
Do you know what it is, Sam?
Just because the bits of I love the bits of advice that you gave there, mate. They're so varied for people going through different things, and they're so practical and real as well, right? From your own lived experiences. Yeah. So, Maiya, honestly, man, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come
Sam,
on.
I really appreciate the opportunity. Just you taking with what you're doing. I'm like, remember when we spoke? I just said to you straight away, I'm down, because these are the things that needs to be done. And for the sole fact that you're someone who you've gone through something and it's made you realize, oh wow, there's a lot of things happening, this, and you've invested your time, your efforts into all these things just to raise more awareness and so on and so forth. And who knows? Who literally knows? Who knows what we've done? We could have saved someone from who's going through something right now who probably thinks they're the only one going through it. But honestly, you're not the only one going through it. Not to desensitize your issue, But it's just for the sole fact that just understand that other people feel the way you feel. They feel that vulnerability.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Everyone's vulnerable. We're human. Everyone's vulnerable. So
exactly.
Don't be too hard on yourself.
Mate, and exactly. That was the goal of doing this, as with all the podcasts, is to try and help people out there that might be going through the same things and to raise a bit of awareness as well. And you did a great job in doing that on lots of different issues. So yeah, thanks, man.
That's it for today's episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like and hit subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and also that way it makes sure that you never miss an episode. If you've got a story you want to share on the Back on Track podcast, get in touch, give me a shout. I'd love to hear from you via backontrackpod@gmail.com.